I can't admit anybody. Oh, there we go.
They're coming in.
Hello.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello. When you come in, we'd really love to actually see you and hear you. So this is your opportunity to say hello, say where you are. We have a few familiar faces, a few new faces.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Carol.
Hello.
How are you?
Nobody's
Good.
talking.
Okay, I'll say something.
Come in.
Hi there, I'm Dave from Toronto and can't wait to be living in France.
Yay, yay.
Yay.
Well,
I'm Mary,
Carol. I'm on Long Island, New York,
Woo-hoo.
working at the same time I'm doing this.
That's good.
Great.
I am Mary Ann. I'm from Boston.
Wow.
I'm
all
Morgan. I'm from London, Ontario.
Great.
right. So you faked me out, London, Ontario. I thought you were maybe just across the channel, but no.
Et je suis
Different
Sasa.
London.
Je suis Sasa from San Francisco.
Hello. Hi,
Great.
Sasa.
Sarah from Santa Clara, California.
Ah,
Judy Ruck, are you here? She's not saying hello.
Judy's here. She said, well, she sent a hello in the
I
chat.
saw that. Okay.
Yeah. Hi, Judy.
We'd also like to see
Patty.
you if you're so inclined to put your video on.
I'm
And
trying.
We're doing we're doing this because we have a relatively small group today, which makes it a little more intimate and a lot more personal, and for us a whole lot more fun. You know, because then we can kind of stay looser. And we will get started in a minute as soon as everybody's in and happy. And we are recording. Okay. So I don't know, should we go ahead and get started?
I'm Lou from Southern California, Los Angeles area.
Great. Hi, Lou.
And I loved your email last week about the Express VPN.
Oh, thank goodness
finally-
for that, right?
Yeah, I'm finally able to see the rest of the Candace Renoir series on, I guess it's on Disney.
There you go. Can you guys hear the phone ringing in my apartment?
No,
Okay, so it is ringing, and I threw it in the bedroom and closed the door. So-
Oh, well,
Okay,
hello. I'm Melody from Portland, Oregon.
Okay, Melody, it's early for
Hello.
you, a little early.
Yes,
Oh,
and I
I'm
see all
up.
the, hello to everybody in the chat, Jennifer and Dan and
Barbara.
Christine and Pete and Carolyn. So welcome, everyone.
thank you, Barbara.
Judy, it was nice talking to you this morning. So great, glad to have you all on board.
Well, okay, you guys, I think let's get started so we don't waste time, right?
Right.
Okay, so
Sounds
here's what's
good.
going to happen. I'm going to share my screen. We're going to get a PowerPoint going. And let me make it full screen. So can everybody see this except that we got to start at the beginning. There we go. Can everybody see the presentation?
Webinar.
Yes.
Right. And I saw that you called twice, but I just want to let you know, I'll call you, it goes to 11:30.
Okay, so you're not going to believe this, but I don't think this is the right presentation. Because
No,
it
that looks
says-
like.
Yeah,
Okay, thanks, bye.
I think it is.
okay, hold on, I'm going to unshare. I mean, this is really, I knew I was going to have technical issues today for some reason. I could just feel it. And for some reason that wasn't right. Okay, now how's that? Except that can you see it or not?
Not yet.
No,
Okay, so let me just make sure one other thing. No, it's up now. Okay. Okay, now let's pray. Okay, yay. See, my hint was that the other one said, anyway, it said part 2. And this is not part 2.
Yeah, and I'm answering that question to Bob, that we
I
only
just
have one
answered
part.
it too. I said, this is part 1. It's the only part.
This is the only part.
The second part is you coming to France.
And people are still coming in, but we're going to get started.
Yep.
Okay, here we go. So we have a few rules. We are recording this, okay, so that we can make it available, but we're only making it available to all of you. So we're going to ask now to keep your audio muted unless you're asked to speak. And when you have questions, go ahead and type them into the chat. Patty Sadowskis, you could wave Patty. Say hello. Patty is going to monitor the chat, and we're going to try to answer as many questions as possible, as long as they are, on topic and they're going to be interesting to everyone. Okay. And we will try to answer as many questions as possible during this, I call it a Zoominar. So we'll see what we can do. But if we can't get to all of them, we'll have the chat so we can try to answer them later. So not to worry. Okay, here we go. This is our prelude to the upcoming Living and Investing in France conference and tour to Provence and the Occitanie 2022. And let me go back. This is co-hosted by the Adrian Leeds Group and Opportunity Travel. And with us from Opportunity Travel today is Barb Sedita. Wave, Barb, say hello. Michelle Sedita and Jamie Perriello. And they were on our, they were at our conference and our tour last year. And do you know, Barb, which of you are going to be with us this year? Oh, you're muted. You're muted, Barb.
You told me to mute. Michelle and Jamie will be there for sure, and I am a possibility that I'll be there as well.
Ah, well, we hope so. Okay, okay, great. But this year we'll have Michelle because we didn't have her last year.
Yes.
And these are the folks that will be taking care of you. Okay, completely. So just know that they're the good guys, and you'll need to know who they are. Now, the way this works is there's actually 2 parts to this. There's the 3-day conference, and then there's a day in between, and then there is a 5-day tour to Provence and the Occitanie. And the dates are September 16th through 18th for the conference, and it's limited to 70 people. And then part 2, the tour is limited to 30 people, and the dates are September 20th to 25th. By the way, this is the most beautiful time of year in this part of France. I mean, this is when the kids have gone home. I mean, they're in school. So, things are not crowded. The weather is still warm, but not hot. And it's just a magnificent time of year to be here, which is one reason we planned it for this. So you can participate in one or both. Now, the way this is going to work, I'm just going to explain the actual conference and tour a little bit. So day 1 is the full day conference, which will include lunch and cocktails. And we're going to invite some of our friends and clients and colleagues from Nice to join us for the cocktail. So you'll get to meet some other people. And we have a lineup of experts and specialists who are going to introduce you to the lifestyle on the Riviera. We're going to talk about the best ways to manage your finances and minimize your taxes. We're going to walk you through the process of how to acquire the right to live in France. We're going to explain the purchase process from A to Z. We're going to talk about cultural divide, which is probably the most difficult thing, the biggest challenge of all. And we're going to really teach you how to buy or rent property in France. We're going to give you current information about properties on the market. We're basically going to be talking about everything soup to nuts, and it's all going to happen in one packed day, but it's going to be fun, if not exhausting. So be prepared. These are our speakers. We have an amazing lineup of speakers. We're talking with Denise Anon, who is the director of the Nice Tourist Office, Brian Dunhill with Dunhill Financial. He's a financial advisor. Benjamin Pick and Jonathan Hadida. Benjamin Pick is a CPA and expert comptable, so he has the right to work on both sides of the Atlantic. Jonathan Hadid is a tax advisor, a tax attorney, actually. Kim Bingham, who is a mortgage broker with Private Rate. Kelly Kutchin with Money Corp exchange experts. So this is how to exchange from dollars to euros. With me will be Ella Dyer and Jennifer Perrette, who are our search consultants here in Nice. So the three of us are making a presentation together. We have our notaire, Carol Vangioni. She's our Nice notaire. She lived in the States for about 10 years, and so she's very clued in on both sides as well. Tula Rampant, who is the correspondent for International Living, will be there, as well as Janet Hulstrand, who is the author of Demystifying the French, and Daniel Tostado, who is an immigration attorney. And then there will be other professionals along the way who will be in and out. But this is a pretty serious lineup of speakers who will really be able to answer just about all your questions. That's day one. Day two is an open house tour. So we're going to be offering up at least 10 properties in Nice that you will be able to leisurely stroll to, one to the other, to, which just does not happen in France. This is not a French thing. This is an American thing, the open house, but we are making this possible by manning these properties for a couple of hours so that you can just visit all of them. They will be in walking distance. And then in the afternoon, you'll be able to go back to the hotel and do a Q&A with our experts so that you can answer the questions that you didn't get answered the day before. So this is going to be kind of a free, an open day. You can participate or not. It's really at your leisure, but it gives you even more information. And then on day three, I think this is my favorite of all, because we're going to get on this big, beautiful bus, and we're going to travel from Nice to Menton and back, all along the gorgeous Riviera, the Côte d'Azur. We're going to stop at the Institut de Français, and you'll have a tour of that, which is like the perfect place to learn French. We're going to have this amazing lunch at the Villa Efroussi de Rothschild, which, if you have never been there, this is an absolute must-see. It's a beautiful, beautiful mansion and gardens. And we're going to show you, why this is the land of the rich and famous, because it's about as beautiful as it gets. So it's a full day. We'll go back to the hotel at 6 o'clock. We'll have another cocktail and, kind of say our, regroup, say our goodbyes to people, and just enjoy the rooftop at the Hotel Splendide, which is quite a lovely hotel in the Carré d'Or district of Nice. Then you have a day off. So for those people who are going to attend the tour, you'll have the day off, and then we're going to set out for Avignon. And our first day is to Avignon with a tour to the Chateau Lacoste. That is not a chateau. It is a winery that is a fantastic art and sculpture garden. And if you have never visited this, it is a must. We're going to have lunch there. We're also offering up a tour to the Palais des Papes in Avignon, and we're staying overnight in Avignon. The next day, we're going to go to the Pont du Gard, and we're going to visit Uzès, and that is a market day in Uzès, which is fantastic. And you guys could maybe remind me some of the details. I know we're having lunch in Uzès, right? But are we visiting any, are we going to visit any other towns along the way on that day, on Wednesday?
Well, we have the market in the morning and lunch, and then we're actually visiting properties in Uzes as well.
Oh, that's right. That's that exactly. So thank you for reminding me about that. And we are staying that night in Avignon, correct?
Correct.
Okay, then on Thursday, we're going to go to Les Beaux de Provence and see the Carrière des Lumières, which is a sound and light show inside of a real quarry. We're going to visit Roussillon, the land of ochre in the Luberon, and we're going to then head to Aix. And we're staying overnight in Aix.
For 3
And
nights.
right. And then Friday, we're going to travel from Aix-en-Provence to Lourmarin, which is one of my favorite villages in the Luberon. And on Friday morning, they have a beautiful market. So we'll be able to do that. And after the market, we're going to go to the Domaine de Fontenille for a wine tasting and a sumptuous lunch in this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful property. It's amazing. And after, we're going to visit some of the towns in the Luberon, the Bonlieu and Gordes and Menerbes and a few others. So you'll get a taste of what that area of Provence is like. And we're going back to Aix for our evening. And then the next day, we're going to visit Aix. We have properties in Aix we're going to see. So we're going to do a tour there, a house tour there. And we're going to visit the Hotel de Caumont. Do we have a meal at the Hotel de Caumont? Do we have a...
We have lunch. We have
a
lunch
lunch
there.
there because the
Which is
salon de thé is
fabulous.
beautiful. It's also a museum. It's a very elegant spot in Aix. I think Patty's going to even show us some photos. And I think we have some photos from our lunch there last year.
Yeah.
On
And also it's market day on that Saturday in Aix.
in Aix. So you guys are going to be marketed out. I'll tell you right now, you'll have more market than you know what to do with, but it's always, always fun. And then we're going to go back to Aix that night. The next day, you'll have more time in Aix before we head back to Nice. We did a similar tour last year, and we had, about 20 people on that tour. We had a blast. So many friendships were made. We had so much fun just being together, but also visiting all these amazing places. And if you've never been to Provence, you're going to fall in love. There's just no way around it.
Mhm.
So thanks to your being here, because you registered for today's Zoominar, this entitles you to take $100 off your conference or tour registration. So, and you'll see the folks at Opportunity Travel for that. So thank you for being here. So who are we? We are really property consultants. Now, we are a licensed real estate agency in France, but we work very differently than the average real estate agency because we think of ourselves as French property the American way. And the services we offer are property consultation, property search, property sales and listings, purchase or sales assistance. We can do property appraisals. We offer financing resources, and we have resources for renovation and decoration. So basically, we're soup to nuts, and we can hold your hand from the beginning to the very end. And the reason that we even exist, the reason I have a job, the reason we're doing this is because there is no multiple listing service in France. And I think Americans are really spoiled by the MLS. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later. But it changes the landscape completely. So anything that you thought you knew about buying property in North America, you can throw it out the door because it's so different here in France. You have a different process, you have different laws, you have a different language, you're dealing in a different currency, you have a different culture, and every single thing you do is going to be different than you've ever done before. So quite honestly, you need us. And if it weren't us, then somebody else. But I wouldn't do this alone if you can help it, because there are too many pitfalls along the way. And you can make some pretty expensive mistakes. So our goal is to make sure that you don't make those mistakes. Now, how did I get to Nice? I'm in Nice at this very moment. I love Nice. I didn't love Nice when I started out. I didn't really know Nice. I just thought it would be a good answer for retirement or as a second home because of the weather. And I always loved the beach. So I bought an apartment in 2011. And I had this idea that if I had this apartment, then I could build an American community, because I felt that the community was very disjointed. And it was one of the things, one of my goals. And that has really happened. I am now spending more than 50% of my time here. I'm going back and forth like crazy. And I've fallen completely and absolutely in love with Nice. It rivals Paris. But I think of Paris and Nice, it's like kind of having two children that you equally love, for different reasons. And, but, you still want to be with both of them. And that's kind of the way it is. You can also think of it as having two lovers. That's another way to consider it. And they are very different. The cities, Paris and Nice, are two very different places. So I wouldn't want to necessarily trade one for the other. Having both is pretty ideal. But Nice and the environs are really addictive. So I warn you now that if you do move to France, you will never go back. I hear it all the time. I get clients who get on with me and say, well, we're only going to get our visa for a year. And so then we have to leave. And I'm saying, no, you're not. Because if you've spent a year here, you will not want to give up what France has to offer. So first of all, you can't really go in reverse. You're going into the future. And once you have developed a life, you've made friends, you're settled in, you're not going to want to uproot yourself. That's basic. But on top of it, you've got France. So what you have here is you have beauty, culture, diversity, and lifestyle. Okay, in a nutshell. Then you have this amazing security, because after you've been here 90 days with a visa, you will have the right to French healthcare, which will pay up to 70% of your costs at no cost to you. So that's pretty hard to give up. Not only that, but all of your healthcare costs are about 1/10 of what they are in the US. And the WHO ranks France has year after year after year, #1 best healthcare in the world. And I will attest to that. There is no question in my mind that you get the best healthcare here. You have to keep in mind that healthcare in the United States is based on profit. The sicker you are, the more money everybody makes. And because it's the opposite situation here, where the government saves money, the healthier you are, you generally get better healthcare. So I can't say enough about that. Okay, now if you've got kids, even as an adult, you've got very high quality education that is free for both children and adults all the way through college. These are the kind of benefits that France offers. It's really hard to give up. On top of it, you're talking about amazing transportation systems that are sophisticated and inexpensive, including communication systems. For example, my Wi-Fi, TV, satellite TV, and VoIP phone cost €35 a month. And I know for a fact that if you're doing this in the US, it's costing you at least $200 a month instead. This is the kind of infrastructure you can have here that just doesn't even exist in the States. Now, sure, some taxes are higher, some taxes are lower. Income tax, if you're earning money here, sure, your income tax is going to be a little bit higher. But if you own property here, your property taxes are going to be a whole lot lower, like 1/10 of what they are in the United States. Small example, my taxes on the property I own in Paris, which at this stage has increased in value to over €1 million, were €627 last year. I'll put that up against any American property. So, you can count that your carrying costs in general are going to be a whole lot lower. So what you have is you have fewer rich, you have fewer poor, you have a larger middle class, and you have a huge safety net. On top of it, if you come here as a retiree, you will not be taxed in France on your retirement income or on your investment dividends. So tax is not really your issue. Your tax is only an issue if you're coming to work here. And that's a whole nother story, and I can help you on that as well. So having the right to live in France is not very complicated. You can come and stay 90 days within any 180-day period without a visa. It's called the Visa Waiver Program. But if you want to stay longer than that, then you need to just apply for a long stay visa, which is called a carte de séjour, for stays of 4 to 12 months. And they're really pretty easy to get. You go online to get your appointment, which is the link at the bottom of this PowerPoint page. Yeah, this slide. Thank you. Thank you, Patty. And all you have to do is show that you have, income to support yourself, which is based on minimum wage, that you have accommodations, which is something we can help you with, and that you have medical coverage, which is a temporary policy. We can also help you with that. So it's very easy to acquire. Now, you will actually have to formally agree not to engage in any professional activity during your stay in France. But let me just explain what that means. That means that you are not going to take a job away from a French national. And so if you are working remotely for a US company with US clients, that has nothing to do with engaging in a professional activity in France. So I can explain that fully. There are legal ways to work around that issue. I can also teach you how to set yourself up so you can work via the US and pose no problem whatsoever. I also want to make a point that you do not confuse legal residency with tax residency. Tax residency is wherever you live 183 days or more, or wherever you consider home. That has nothing to do with the legal ability to be a resident in France. These are two separate ideas. Compartmentalize them. Now, there is a tax treaty between France and the US, so you will not pay tax twice on the same income. And our experts who will be talking about this at the conference will be able to explain really how, by living in France, you will save on your taxes, not pay more. So I don't want you to be afraid of taxation.
Can I interrupt just for a second?
Sure.
We have some Canadians on the Zoom too. Do you want to?
Well, there's a tax treaty with Canada as well. There's there's a tax treaty with Canada as well. Our experts are proficient in both. I'm sorry if I seem to be too US centric, so I apologize for that. We Americans have more problems than Canadians do because of FATCA, the Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act. So we are pariahs on the banking industry around the world. Canadians have a much easier, happier time than we have. And I can tell you that often we want to just call ourselves Canadian instead of Americans for those reasons. So moving on. Okay, what we love about especially the south of France, we have this amazing climate. We have 300 days a year of sunshine in Nice. We have moderate temperatures. We have stunning sea and landscapes. When it comes to temperature, I've written quite a bit about this lately because we've had a lot of really scorcher days in France. But while it's scorchingly hot in Provence, it'll be very moderate in Nice because it's kind of a microclimate being at the water. It runs on the average about mid-80s in the summer and a little bit cooler at night, and there's always a breeze, so it's particularly beautiful. There is a an amazingly large American community here and growing. There are lots of organizations that you can tap into. Democrats Abroad is here, for example. There's also a big international community. You know, Nice is largely Italian. The British have been coming here since Queen Victoria vacationed here. The Russians have been coming here since the Tsars vacationed here. And now there's a large American community. There's a big influx of Scandinavians. And I think this is even more international than Paris. It feels more international to me. It's very open-minded on that level. You'll open a menu and you'll see 4 languages on the menu. You'll see English and French and Italian and Russian. And you think, where am I? You know, but you're on the Côte d'Azur. And then one of the biggest advantages to being here is really the international airport. There are 3 international airports in France. There's the Paris, Marseille, and Nice. And the ability to get to the airport 20 minutes on the tram from central Nice to the airport's front door, take inexpensive flights all over Europe is really, it's a reason not to leave. You get really spoiled by being able to do that. Patty here hops on a plane and goes to Venice at a whim because she loves Venice. For what, Patty? Your trip last time was what, 70 euros round trip or something less?
Yeah, something like that. I can't remember.
Right, like even less than my train between Paris and
Yeah, and it's the flight's an hour.
Yeah, it's very, very easy.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So it's a reason to be close to an international airport. But on top of that, what you have is you have this big TGV hub. You've got the local tramway system, which is great. There's an extensive bus system all over town. And if you want to get on a ferry and go to Italy and Corsica, it's right at the old port. So transportation system is fantastic, and it really is a great reason to be here. So let's talk about whether you'd rather be in a town or a village or a villa in the country or in a city, a more urban area, because this is a big question that I get. People don't always know exactly what it is they want. And very often you can have rosy colored glasses about living in some sweet village, but you really need to know the pluses and minuses. So if you're in any one of the towns along the Côte d'Azur, you really can have beautiful views. You can have both sandy beaches and pebbly beaches. You can have a very elegant lifestyle, and you have pretty easy access to the airport and to Nice because of the transportation systems that are along the coast. You can live there without a car. You're probably going to want one or a scooter to get around, but you can live in the towns along the Côte d'Azur without a car. If you get into any of the perched villages, which are beautiful, quaint and quiet, you really will need to have some sort of a vehicle. Otherwise, you're just stuck. And getting a French driving license is not a piece of cake. It's expensive and difficult, and it has to be obtained within the first year of having your visa. So this is a big decision to make. And if you want to be in a villa, of course, you've got complete privacy. You have land for a garden or a pool, and you have a lot of space for the cost of it, a lot. But again, you will be remote. You'll have to get in your car to go get your baguette, which you wouldn't have if you were in a village, and you will need a car. If you're in Nice, which is the hub, you have more urban living. You don't need a car. You have immediate access to the airport and the train station, and you have a very large Anglophone community. Urban living, though, in Nice is not urban living like Paris or urban living like New York. It's a small city. You can literally walk from one side of town to the other in about 30 to 45 minutes. It's flat. It's easy to maneuver. It's easy to meet up with people. In fact, if you sit in a cafe, you are bound to run into people, you know. It'd be almost impossible not to. And the tram system's really great. The bus system's really great. I can't say enough wonderful things about this lifestyle, because it's just, you don't spend much time inside. The weather's great. You're out. There's a million cafes. There's places you can go. If you're feeling depressed, all you have to do is go over to the promenade and walk along the prom and become happy again. Patty, you want to add anything to this?
Gosh, I don't know. I think what I'll add is living in Nice is much better than I expected. I've lived in Paris. I lived in Nîmes, which is a much smaller city. I always liked Nice. I didn't love it, but now that I live here, I really absolutely love living here. And it's different. Living here is different than visiting as a tourist. It's hard to put in words, but it's just incredible. It's so wonderful. My sister just moved here a week ago.
Yes, she
After
got
she
the,
spent
she
3
got the
months
bug
with me,
too.
she
Exactly.
decided she had to do it too. So it's a fabulous place to live.
Okay, let's move on to the towns along the Côte d'Azur. On the map, you can see the Russian Orthodox Cathedral. For some reason, it's the only thing that pops up. But that little arc there is basically the Baie des Anges. And to the east of it is Cap Ferrat, that little cap that's sticking out there. So basically, it goes from Cannes, which is on the far west side, to Cagnes, to Juan-les-Pins, Villeneuve-Loubet, Cagnes-sur-Mer, Antibes, Nice, then Villefranche-sur-Mer, Saint-Jean-Cap-Ferrat, Cap d'Aille, Monaco, which is not part of France, but in France, Roquebrune, Cap Martin, and Menton, which is the last town before the Italian border. Those are basically all the towns that are along the coast. And here's an example of a property in Villefranche-sur-Mer. Villefranche-sur-Mer, of course, is this beautiful Romanesque village that sits on many levels. It has a view of Cap Ferrat. It has the deepest port along the coast, and it is not cheap. It is as expensive or even a little more expensive than Nice in terms of property. So as you can see, 48 square meters, which is approximately 550 square feet. This is a large one bedroom that has a fabulous view and terrace for 690,000. It's just an example. It's just to give you an idea of what's possible. Now, if you're thinking about the villages are just really charming and beautiful. And from the villages, you can have a view of the sea. That is entirely possible. So these are some of the villages and their distances: Bar-sur-Loup, Biot, Gorbiot, Gourdon, Grasse, Haute-de-Cagnes, Le Canet, Mougins, Payan, Roquebrune, Saint-Paul-de-Vence, Tourette-sur-Loup, Valbonne, and Vence. And there are others, but these are the ones that are the closest, because I would think that it would make sense to try to be no more than, say, 30 minutes from Nice by car. And there are buses that go to all of these places as well from Nice, so that you have access. And they're all different. They all have their own personalities. So it's worth visiting all of them to decide what really makes sense for you. And here's a sample of a property in Tourette-sur-Loup. Tourette is one of the most beautiful. And this is, as you can see, this is a lot of bang for your buck, because this is, almost 90 square meters, which is about 1,000 square feet, for 3 bedrooms, which is, it's very spacious, and it's only 375,000. And what we can see from here is that it's old, it has some exposed beams, and it clearly has some beautiful views. So that gives you an idea of what, you can afford more by going to these villages.
Adrian, I'm just going to add too, the exchange rate's very favorable now, so it's a good time to buy property.
Well, yes. What is it today? 105, 106?
105, 106, yeah.
Right. Yeah, because I made a trade yesterday and I got 106. So it's, yeah, $1.06. So it's true. It's really favorable right now. So if you want a villa, which is quite elegant, and you could have your pool, I think you need to just expect to have much higher maintenance costs. And of course, you're living alone. It's remote. If you play bongo drums, then you can make all the noise you want, and you will be getting in your car to go get your baguette. So there's pluses and minuses to both. And you can certainly have a big, beautiful house. And here's an idea of one. This one is in Vence or near Vence. It's 6 rooms, 4 bedrooms, 130 square meters, which is about 1,450 square feet. And it's only 590,000. So again, you can really have a fabulous lifestyle for not a lot of money when you go into the countryside. But do expect to have more maintenance costs, garden and everything else when you own your own home. Now, if you're interested in Nice, the neighborhoods, this is central Nice. If you go further north beyond the train station, there's lots up there as well, but it's not, well, you have access on the tram. And there's an area called Libération, which is past the train station, where there's a market. And you can actually buy very inexpensively in that area. But we're not going to talk about it today. We're going to talk about mostly the central part of Nice. So Vieux-Nice is the yellow triangle at the bottom here. That's the Old Town. I don't really recommend Old Town for full-time living. But if it's an investment property for rental, that can be a good place to be. It's a great place to go hang out, go to bars and restaurants, wander around, shop, and then go back home. The Carré d'Or, which is the red rectangle on the left, is Nice's most expensive district. I personally think it's the most desirable, but that's only because I like being close to the beach, and that neighborhood is close to the beach. It also has the best shopping in town. It has pedestrian streets. There's lots of restaurants and lots of activities, beautiful bourgeois buildings. And if you're buying a property for rental purposes, it's highly rentable in that area. As you can see, it's also very close to Old Town, so it's very easy access. Now, the Vieux-Port. So if you go to the east side and you see the blue rectangular water, that is the old port. And the area surrounding the port is really up and coming, becoming more and more desirable all the time. So that kind of green area that's just above the blue water is the port area. There is a project to renovate the port and make it more green and more user-friendly. So I think that the property there is going to continue to go up in value. It's very hip, it's wonderful, and its only negative side really is that it's just further away from the beach. So if you don't care about the beach, the port can be fantastic. The Quartier des Musiciens is the green area above the red. And so it's between Boulevard Victor Hugo and the train station. It's also bourgeois. It's also beautiful. It's less expensive than the Carré d'Or. And as you can see, it's really not much further away. If you were to walk from the water to the train station along those streets, it's about a 15-minute walk. So if you're located in Musiciens, it's not really much. It's only a couple blocks further, and it can be highly desirable. Nice Centre is the area that's green to the right of the blue line, which is Avenue Jean Boulevard or Avenue Jean Médecin, where the tram line is. And it's also centrally located. It's clearly a little further from the water. It's less expensive than the Carré d'Or or Musicienne. And it's a little more of a business district. So it's a little more congested car-wise. There aren't any pedestrian streets there yet. But I want to make a special note here. You might see some kind of green dotted lines that are running east and west. The mayor, Christian Strossi, is greening up the city like crazy. And he is putting in greenery along these east-west streets, and they are becoming more and more beautiful. So what's happened is that there's a wide sidewalk on each side. There's one lane of car, and then there's a lane of for scooters and bikes. And it kind of winds through beautiful trees and shrubbery. And the streets that have gone green like this are absolutely fabulous. And I've watched this happen over the last 5 years. It's amazing, really amazing. So those are going to be continued even into Nice Centre. Now, what's also happening is right now, if you see the green path that looks like a river through the middle, that is the Promenade de Paillon. It lives literally over a river. And that now stops at the Modern Art Museum. And beyond the Modern Art Museum is the Acropolis. And I wish I had a pointer to show you, but if you follow that green strip all the way up, there is a plan to demolish the Acropolis and turn all of that into garden. So where it becomes yellow will become green. And so the city is just blossoming. Now, to continue on these neighborhoods, the Quartier des Fleurs is the neighborhood that's to the west of the Carré d'Or, that's red, and that's less expensive, but close to it's less expensive than the Carré d'Or, but it's close to the water. And with the new tram line, the tram line 2, very accessible. We have a lot of clients buying in that area because it's more less touristy, more residential, offers a lot of the same amenities. Access is really good, and property is less expensive. Then Riquier is this area north of the port area. There is a small train station there that has access going east to all the enclaves along the water. And Riquier is another good opportunity. And then Baumettes is an area that's further west from Fleur. And that area is also close to the water, but further west. We will soon be offering a fractional ownership property that is in that area in Baumettes. That's literally right on the prom. We're going to be talking about that soon, but it has great tram access. So you get on the tram or the buses and you're in town in a few minutes. Cimiez is an area that is hilly, and it's on the north part of the city, and there are buses, but you would probably want a car if you're living in Cimiez. You have gorgeous views from Cimiez, but you will not have the same immediate access to everything happening if you're in central Nice. There's also Montberon, which is on the other side of the port, on the east side of the port, and it's the same situation. They have garden apartments. You can have beautiful views. There are buses, but you're going to probably want a car. It's not the same easy access.
It feels more suburban once you get up to Cimiez or Montberon. It just feels more suburban.
It's not as urban. But these are also beautiful areas. Cimiez is where the museums are some of the museums are located, like the Chagall and the Matisse and the Colosseum that's up there, and a beautiful park. So it is quite lovely, but it is a different style of living, no question about it. Now, here's a sample of something on the market. This is like steps from my own apartment on Rue de Paradis, where Louis Vuitton and Chanel and Armani, all the fabulous stores are, and you can see the sea is right there. That's the Parc Albert Premier that you can see from the balcony. So it's 2 bedrooms. It's 110 square meters. That's approximately, say 1,200 square feet.
Mhm.
It's on the second floor out of 6, and it's 785,000. So, we're talking more expensive, but what an amazing location. Fantastic. In fact, Patty, I need to go look at that apartment myself. Because that, for me, that's
We
like
should-
that's my ideal spot right there.
Yeah, but it's second floor is not ideal.
Second floor could be great,
Yeah, could be,
especially if it has an elevator.
yeah, and a balcony.
Yes, well, that's the thing. Needs to have a balcony. Okay, so how do we go about finding property to purchase? Well, anyone can purchase property in France. You don't have to be a resident. There, again, there's no MLS. What that means is that every agent has access only to their own listings and they do not expect to split their commissions, which is about 5% built into the asking price. When you see an asking price, it includes the agency commissions. Here in the South, there are very often times we can share a commission with an agent or agency, but it happens about 1/3 to 1/2 of the time. Otherwise, the agents are pretty proprietary. They don't really want to share their information, their clients or their listings. And agents will say just about anything to make a sale because they're working for the seller, not for the buyer. So the attitudes towards this commission sharing does differ in different regions of France. In Paris, they absolutely will not share commissions, period. It's like they formed a bond with one another. They're not going to do it. But when they do share their commission with us as a licensed agency, we credit that back to the client. So it could save our client quite a lot of money. I mean, I have one client that, bought a big, fabulous apartment here, and we were able to save them 30,000 euros by virtue of that share. And, that's not chump change. I'm going to tell you a funny story this happened just today, as a matter of fact. Yesterday, I went to look at an apartment for myself to purchase. And it wouldn't work for me, but it might work for a client. And so I sent this information to my team, just to my team, to Ella and Jennifer, with a note that said, do you have a client for this property? It's a great piece of property. And so one of my agents, Jennifer Pratt, wrote the agent a response. This is wonderful to know about. I'd really love to see it. And that agent got upset. I got a ding email. That agent got upset that I had shared that information, even with my own team. How dare I do that? And I was really shocked by that. But that's the kind of proprietary attitude that you get from the agents. Now, you would think that this agent wants to sell this property, but he wants to hold on to it so tightly that he wouldn't even allow my team to have this information. So, I mean, I've been doing this for 20 years, and every day goes by and something new and interesting happens. It's pretty much incredible. But anyway, just understand that we're not going to list a property that we wouldn't recommend someone buy. That's number one. And our primary service is finding property, whether it be for rent or for purchase. That's what we do. We work for the buyer or the renter, not for the seller or the landlord. Now, the process itself can take quite a long time. It can take anywhere from 3 to 6 months and sometimes longer. I do have clients I met with today. They started their process last August. They have still not closed because of titles. There was a situation with a lawsuit on the property, and it's taken a very long time for this to close, but they are patient and they know it's worth it because the property's worth it. So you have to understand that this is a long process. It's highly administrative. It's bureaucracy. I mean, that's the French invented this word. So just understand that you can't really turn a property quickly and flip it. Meanwhile, there's a lot of consumer protection built into the process, which is good. The notaires, who are the lawyers that process the transactions, cross their I's and dot their T's. I mean, cross their I's, that's good, right? And dot their T's. Dot their I's and cross their T's. But we are with you all along the way from beginning to end so that you are not alone in this. So what we do is we represent your interests. We search for property on behalf of you as the renter or buyer. We provide all the resources, all the professionals who can answer your questions. We do all the due diligence. We advise along the way. You don't need expensive translations as a result of this because we understand these French documents. We manage the process from beginning to end. So all you have to do is just, let us guide you from step one to step two. And in the end, we kind of provide a kind of insurance because we will not let you make a bad decision if we can help it. We're not going to point out only the good. We're going to point out all of the bad so that you go into this with your eyes wide open. That is our job, to make sure you understand exactly what you're getting into. So we don't stop at property. For those of you who have been with us for a while, who get my newsletters, you know that we publish 3 newsletters a week with lots of information. You've probably seen us on House Hunters International. I was supposed to be filming my 50th episode right now this week in Lille, but the contributor came down with COVID, so it's been postponed till the end of July. This is the second time this postponement has happened. The first time was because I came down with COVID. And hopefully eventually this will happen. You can also attend our monthly coffee gathering in Paris, which is the second Tuesday of every month, with the exception of August. And we've been trying to organize a similar event here in Nice, which will happen as soon as we find the best venue, because we've been looking for that. And you can, of course, attend our upcoming conference. And the other way to do this is just to book a personal consultation with me and to participate in other webinars that we're doing, but webinars such as this one. So this is how you can learn how to, get through all this. And escaping to France is actually much easier than you think. We've helped, I say hundreds, but I know it's in the thousands at this point.
Might be.
One of these days I'm going to count it all up. But I know that we've hit the 1,000 mark. That's for sure. You can get good advice. You need to get good advice, either attend the conference or any one of these other ways. You can start with a consultation to strategize on how, to do this successfully. But what I'd really like to say as a closing note is, don't let your fear get in the way of your dreams. Fear is very debilitating. And if you will replace the word expectations with hopes, then you will never be disappointed. And I just point out John Garland Jones, who came to me with his dream to move to France and to sing, and he is here, and that is what he is doing, and he's been here several years. So he made his dream come true, and I know that we can make your dream come true too. So if you want to learn more about the conference and the tour, so there's the link for that. And now we can open it up to the Q&A and ask me anything. And I'm gonna, and I see, you see that? 2021. That was,
Whoops.
sorry. And I'm gonna stop the share. And now I can see everybody. And we can open this up for questions. So Patty, you want to take some from the chat?
Yeah, I have a few I've held from the chat. Some we've answered during the course of the webinar.
Okay.
But one question from Mary Ann is, do buyers in France tend to offer less than the asking price?
What a good question that is. Well, let me just say that this is interesting because the sellers are morally obligated to accept asking price. That means there are no bidding wars. And when you do that, it's pretty much yours. Now, you could offer less, but they don't build in much more than 5%. These people are not hagglers. And property, we pretty much know what the value of a property is. So you wouldn't want to offer much less than 5%, less than asking. Okay.
And a question from Ingrid. So can you only sell your own listing then?
I'm not sure I
It's
understand.
it's about agents only.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Well, no, okay. So I can only sell my own listing, but a client can certainly buy anyone's listing.
Right, right. And her follow-up question to that was, do you charge a commission to find properties or a flat fee? How does this work if the commission isn't shared between agents?
Yes, we charge an advance fee for the search itself, which is non-refundable, and that depends on the budget. So there's a scale. And then we charge a 2.5% finder's fee. And all total, it ends up a little more than 3% of the price of the property. But if we have a commission share, which is normally about 2.5%, then you could save all of that, and it could end up costing you only about 0.5% for our services, which is really a bargain.
It is a bargain because, I mean, we help make the offer, work with the notaire, answer all the questions, go through all the
Everything.
documents. You can keep going on and on about
You just
that.
sit back and let us do
Right.
all the work.
Right, right.
Exactly.
Okay, and then there was a question earlier from Bob. And Bob had some concerns coming as a single septuagenarian and making friends. I'm not finding his exact question, but that was the gist of his question. He's worried about being lonely in France.
Oh, no way.
How does a single twice married septuagenarian avoid the loneliness of moving to France?
Oh my God. Okay. So first of all, Bob, there's a whole, I mean, if you're interested in women, okay, there's a whole lot of single women, but you have to understand that the American community here is very closely knit, and they do a lot of things together. And you will meet a lot of people who are just like you. You're going to be able to connect so quickly and make so many friends so fast, it'll make your head spin. And that's a big reason that why you'll never go back. You know, I lived in Knoxville, Tennessee for 14 years, and I can count all my friends on one hand, literally, because I couldn't relate to the people there. And now that I'm living in France, of course, now I've been here now 28 years, I know thousands of people, literally thousands of people. So it's fantastic. I mean, it's just fantastic. Patty, you've been in Nice, what, a year and a half?
A year and a half.
And what do you think your friendship base is?
I have no idea.
200?
I have no idea.
200?
I know
300?
last year on Bastille Day, I was having a get together at my house and I had to limit it to 12 people. But I could have easily invited 40 or 50, even just to a home, party on a holiday. Right. And that doesn't even include the other people.
No,
Right. Yeah.
It's probably one of the most wonderful things about living here, because the expat community, you have to understand also, they are largely left-wing, open-minded, well-educated, well-traveled, have had really interesting lives. And so they make fantastic friends. They just do.
There's so much camaraderie, and you're meeting people just like you. And maybe some of the people even on the webinar today feel like I did when I lived in the US. I never fit in, and I came to France, and it's like you found your tribe.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, Barb, you were here. So you're not even from here. You were here last year, and you met all these people.
It was wonderful. I mean, for me, like, we got there, Jamie and I arrived a few days before the conference started, and we went out with the whole expat community. And I just see someone who asked about, meeting people through gyms and exercise classes and, just not meeting people in bars. But like Adrian said earlier, you live pretty much outside. And Patty and Adrian are always doing get-togethers, and like they have their book club in Paris. They're going to bring it to Nice. I mean, I was just amazed by this wonderful community. The people who man the houses, for instance, on the property tour, they're all expats. They come in and you get to meet them and how long they've lived there.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then they come to the cocktail party. And it's just such a fun group of people that have moved there that make it very exciting. I think, Dave, you sent an email about you're an artist. We had an artist on our tour last year too, that basically I bought one of his paintings that he painted from our tour when I got home. But it is really very unique. And I hadn't been to Nice probably 20 years before I went last year. And again, it really opened my eyes to what a great city it is. It's just open, walkable, great food, great restaurants. And I live in South Florida. It's very expensive to live here. I found Nice to be much more affordable, which I really did not
Definitely.
realize. And I'm friends with Patty now on Facebook, Adrian too, but Patty, I am so jealous of, because she is just all the time, just getting on a train or a bus or something and going to visit these amazing places in the south of France or in Italy. And I'm like, gosh, that is like amazing that she's here, like on different weekends. She's always out and about doing things. So it's very social. I don't think anybody would have any issues being lonely.
No problem whatsoever. Okay, another question?
There's a question from Christine. Can you talk a little bit about purchasing investment property? For example, buying an apartment to rent out long-term or short-term for a few years. How easy is that to do while still in the States?
Good question. From the States is the easy part. Okay, because there are untold numbers of people who work as concierges who manage properties. So you certainly don't have to be present to do any of that. The hard part is complying with the rules and regulations that the cities they're struggling with the Airbnb situation because there's a housing shortage in Paris, for example, and the short-term rentals are no longer legal for secondary properties, but there's such a thing called a mobility lease, which is 1 to 10 months. And that's for people who are renting and they're here in town or in Paris for business or education. That's legal. But for short-term rental, like an Airbnb, is basically illegal on a secondary property in Paris. And in Nice, you can do it for up to 6 years as long as you have permission from the building and permission from the city. It's become more and more difficult to do this, not impossible. All that being said, no one can tell you who you let stay in your property. I mean, friends and relatives are all completely welcome. And so if you were to rent it, let someone stay in it, you're not advertising it on Airbnb or some other platform, then basically they're not going to know the difference. The other thing is that the leases, a 1-year furnished lease, comes with a 30-day cancellation. So in legal terms, you really only have to rent for a minimum of 1 month. This is a much bigger conversation. I can certainly help all of you work this out. If it needs to be an investment property, then we only look for properties that make sense for investment and that have the ability to rent legally as well as possible. But it's just not as easy as it used to be. It's not as profitable as it used to be. I suspect it will eventually change again because our lives are now more transient. We are, we can work remotely. We want to live in more places. And I think ultimately all of those rules and regulations are going to have to adapt to our new lifestyles. So
I think Melody has a question.
Yes, I was wondering, is there a certain amount of money that you would recommend that you take when you go over and you want to settle in? Just seed money, safety net?
I'm not sure I understand the question exactly, because that could be different for a lot of different people, right?
Yeah, I'm interested in renting. I want to come over there and live.
So you want to know how much it's going to cost you to live here, basically, right?
Yes.
Okay, so rents in Paris are about 25% more than they are in Nice. But
I'm
if
looking
you,
at Toulouse.
Toulouse is very inexpensive. You can live here for a lot less money than you can in the US. I would say that if you have anywhere between 2,500 and 4,000 euros a month, you will be living high on the hog.
Mhm.
Great, thank you.
I mean, because think about it. If your telephone and TV and internet are 35 euros a month, right? Okay, my electricity in Nice is 50 euros a month. My taxes are, now that's for ownership. My taxes are really, really low, of course. I'll tell you where you're going to spend your money. You're going to spend your money eating out, because you're going to be so much more social than you ever have been. So you're not spending it on a car. Now, if you're in Toulouse, you might want a car in Toulouse. You might. Toulouse, the problem with Toulouse, which is really a lovely city, is that you don't have immediate access to an international airport. That is a downside for Toulouse. It means that you can't just get on the tram, go to the airport, and go to Venice for the weekend. Everything becomes more complicated, and that becomes more expensive. So I would just say to you, think long and hard about that inability, because the ability to travel, if that's what you want to do, is easier when you're close to an international airport, rather than having to get on the train and get to the airport and then the airport out, because it just complicates everything. So I would just caution you when you're making that decision for Toulouse.
Okay.
But it will be less expensive. The rents in Toulouse are going to be less than they are in Nice. Now, rents, for example, Patty's apartment, which I think is a particular bargain, okay? But Patty's apartment is a 2-bedroom, 70 square meter apartment, which is about 750 square feet, with 3 balconies, incredible views, in a great location. And it's a little over 1,000 euros a month.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Just
and
barely.
it's very nice.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
like, I'm ready to move in.
Yeah, we're all moving in. We're all moving in with Patty, right?
Well, we'll visit first.
Yeah. Okay, another question?
Feel free to hop in and ask if you have something.
I had a question.
Sure.
This is great information. Thank you. Is it easy to speak French? Because I want to speak French, but it sounds like the American community is growing so much. And in fact, I went to the Institut de Francais. So will we be able to continue to speak French, or does everyone just normally go back to English?
Well, if you're with Americans, you're going to be speaking English. I mean, that's just natural. The Americans are not going to sit together and speak in French. It's not going to happen, right?
Okay.
But if you're, every day, you're going to speak French wherever you go. Now, you know what will happen. They hear your American accent and then they speak back to you in English.
Well, usually when that happens, I say I don't understand English today.
Well, that helps.
That does work, because you're right. That's what'll happen. So
Yeah. Hey, I've been here 28 years. I open my mouth and they speak English to me. So I keep speaking back to them in French and eventually they catch on, you know.
Yeah.
Eventually, right. Eventually they catch on. But you know, you don't get focused on the French because I'm speaking French, because it'll come, it takes time. It takes time to practice, and you'll pick it up as it go, you know, organically. So just let it be whatever it is and not fret about it. That's the thing. The main thing is to kind of feel comfortable with your level so that even if your level sucks, right, you won't be embarrassed to speak, to say something. Just that's the main thing. Feel
Yeah, I'm at an understood. But it would be nice just to be able to speak every day, which I guess from what you're saying, yeah, going to the store.
Yeah, you do it in the stores, you know, right, everyday stuff. You know, and after a while, it makes it real easy to order in restaurants, and you know, and when you're in the market, to tell them you want, you know, 500 grams of something, and you know.
Great.
Yeah,
Okay.
it just gets easier little by little. But I got to tell you, it took me 20 years before I felt comfortable at all.
Ah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Adrian, we have a question about bank financing
Okay.
for property. Is it possible?
Is it
Is it possible?
possible, but unlikely. So the banks no longer want to work with American clients because of FATCA, FATCA. And if you don't know what that is, be sure to look it up, Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act. And so there's only a few banks that are willing to lend. Then, because interest rates have been so low, I mean, they've been, believe it or not, some rates have been as low as under 1%. Now they're a little under 2%. The banks aren't making a lot of money, so they don't really want to lend small amounts. And then they don't want to lend to people who are over the age of 60 because there's a life insurance policy that's attached to the loan to pay it off in the event of death, and the premiums become very expensive. So they want the loan to end at the age of 75. On top of that, they don't trust people who are in business for themselves, so they only want to lend to people who are salaried, not self-employed. So that's a long list of strikes against us. And so it isn't easy, but it's not impossible. I do have clients that are getting mortgages, but they do tend to be younger. They do tend to be salaried. And there are also specific places where getting the loan is easier. Believe it or not, it's easier to get a loan in Nice than it is in Paris because of the banks. So I hope that helps answer a question. I think, where's my mouth? David Barron, I think you were starting to ask a question, right?
Yeah, sorry about that. Thanks, Adrian. I first of all just wanted to piggyback on what Sasa was worried about. Just practice your French. I speak 5 languages. I was a French immersion teacher for 30 years, so I speak the language fluently. But if you just say you want to practice your French and be adamant about it, most people be really, really accommodating. So don't worry. The question I had was, now I don't know if you can answer this because it's a bit of a Canadian thing, but I heard you have to have private health insurance, which I do through the retired teachers insurance plan, which I'm on. So I've got that one first arriving, and I understand it's 3 months until you qualify for your Puma.
Right. That's right.
Yeah, and I don't know how that differs from an S1 and all that stuff. That's a crazy nutso thing. But you know you said 70%, and then you have a mutuel to pay of 30%.
That's right. So you're going to love this one. Just as I have a mutuel because I'm on the French healthcare system. So I have a mutuel that is 100% coverage with no deductible. Guess how much my premium is a year? Anybody want to guess?
In euros or American dollars?
Euros. Doesn't matter.
200.
Okay, 1,600 a year.
Okay, because I thought it was ridiculously cheap or something. Okay, 1,600. All right.
1,600 a year for my mutual. You can't do that in the US.
No.
No.
Canadians have a good situation, okay?
David, I
Yes.
want to mention, to apply for your visa, they have
Mhm.
specific requirements for the healthcare.
Yeah.
Be careful. Some of the information you mentioned sounds like you may have been crowdsourcing online, and there's a lot of misinformation out there. So be sure to
Crowdsourcing.
get your information from, well, you mentioned like an S1, and then S1 has to do with
No,
British people.
these are from our French friends.
Okay,
Believe me.
that might even be worse. That might even be worse than
It's like I
crowdsourcing.
can't listen to them because it's too much to take in. But I
But
know.
be sure to go to the
Yeah.
visa website to
Yes, I
get
have.
the
Yeah, just
specific
go straight to the
requirements.
government site. We also have,
Because, right,
right, yeah, because you got to be careful about the information you get that's out there. You know, some people think they know what they're doing, but then they don't.
Yeah.
And we work with an immigration attorney, Daniel Tostado, who's going to be at the conference. We're also work with a young woman named Madai, who is a hand holder. Basically, she can help you through the entire administrative process.
Okay, because I'm just worried about losing our Ontario health insurance plan, OHIP. If you're away for more than 6 months, like snowbirds going down to Florida, you can't do any more than 6 months or you lose your insurance here. And we're thinking of doing a year deep dive, renting in France, renting out our house to an executive agency here. And yeah, that's a little scary, but just wanted to make sure we could get the long-term stay and just the health stuff. And if as long as we've got our Puma when we're over there and I can find a good mutuelle, then I think we should be good for the year. And then
Yeah, but you
we'll
know
have to deal.
what? You're not going back to Canada. You're not going back.
Oh,
Forget it. You see, you have to understand that once you've spent this year here, you aren't going to want to go back.
I
So,
love our house. I just want it on the Mediterranean. Is that too much to ask?
well, you know, I understand. Okay. So hold on to the house for now. Okay.
Yeah.
But down the road, you're going to say, you know, we love the house, but it's not located in where we want.
And pull the plug. Yeah.
right.
Yep.
The other thing I want to add is you can apply for Puma after 90 days. It's not automatic, and the process can take several months. And
That's
somebody asked a question why you have to have insurance for a year. But for your visa application, you do have to provide insurance for the length of your visa. After 90 days, you can apply for the French healthcare system, but it can take 3 months, 6 months. I've heard of it taking up to 2 years for some people.
Right.
So it's
You have to
it's
make
well,
sure
it's
you have healthcare for the first year.
right, right. But also keep in mind that even if you pay out of pocket, the costs are
Nothing.
nothing. A doctor's visit's 25 euros.
Well, 28
Which
is 28, I think, is the scheduled rate, Patty.
Oh, okay, it went up.
And see here,
My
for us,
doctor's
it's
25.
zero.
Oh, he's less
And
than the
it's
scheduled
zero.
rate.
As a Canadian,
Yeah.
seeing my doctor is zero. So yeah, I'm kind of,
Right.
Yeah, but this is okay. But what she's saying, that you don't pay the 28, you're covered, but for the 28, it's just that that's the scheduled rate.
So
Oh,
if
okay.
you have to
Don't
pay out
have
of pocket,
coverage. If you don't
it's-
have the coverage, then it's your out of pocket.
right. So, but again, nobody's gone broke paying for medical care in France like they do in the US.
yeah, because I have a lot of prescriptions I'm on. It's like I have my own mini pharmacy in there. So I want to make sure that, you know, my current plan covers me, and I'll talk to those people again. They're really good at explaining what the coverage is, but that was my big worry is health coverage while I'm over there.
Now, Judy had her hand up.
I just wanted to personalize this a bit. I was in Paris and some of the other cities in France in April for almost 3 weeks. And unfortunately, I developed a virus. No, not COVID. I went to the pharmacy in the first arrondissement in Paris, happened to have a specialist there. And I think it cost me like less than 50 euros, and that included meeting with the doctor as well as receiving an antibiotic and a decongestant. It was unbelievable. I thought, So David, you don't need to worry, really.
No, the healthcare is fantastic. Yeah. Any other questions?
Adrian, we could go and show some scenes
Oh.
from our conference and tour last year to end
Okay.
the webinar if we'd like.
Okay, I think that's a great idea.
Let me bring that up. And I'll show the slides or the photos and you can comment.
Okay.
So
Well,
let me
excuse me,
share my
before we
screen.
do this,
Mhm.
Yeah.
could I ask one question? How much is a personal consultation?
390 euros for up to 2 hours.
Okay, thank you.
Now I have to find where I share my screen.
Bottom.
Yeah, oh, there it is. I think. Is anything happening? We should have tested
Not
this.
yet, not yet.
Not yet. Share screen. Oh, there we go. There we go.
There we
Okay,
go.
so these are from last year.
These are from the conference and tour last year. So there's Adrian. Well, Adrian's gonna let you talk about it.
Well, yeah, okay, that's me, right.
That's Adrian, yeah. Opening the conference at the Hotel Splendide.
Patty, can you make it full screen? Because we're seeing their tabs at the top.
Oh, let me see. How do I do that?
Not serious, but
Ay.
Try the 3 dots in the top right
Okay.
corner.
no.
Slideshow.
No.
Click on slideshow.
Oh, there we
slideshow.
go. There we go. Awesome. Thank you.
There. So that's Ella Dyer. She's one on my staff. Wait, go back.
I know, I didn't mean to do that.
Okay, so right, so this is Ella speaking at the conference.
Mm.
And that's Brian Dunhill, also speaking at the conference. This was our cocktail on the rooftop terrace of the Hotel Splendide.
Oh, I think it's just going on its own.
Oh, I just have to speak quickly. That's those are the views. So, okay, so we're getting
There
a
we go.
slideshow, quick.
There
right?
we go. Okay, now we're good. View from the hotel.
View from the hotel, right? Okay. So that's the Cap Ferrat and Villefranche that's from the tour.
Mm-hmm. It's from the bus tour.
Bus tour.
The full day bus tour of the Riviera.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I do on the weekends. I take
Those-
this bus. I take a bus
Take
on
the
this
bus,
route to go up to
yeah.
Ez.
Uh-huh.
Another shot of Villefranche.
That's Villefranche.
And our fractional apartment is right here.
There.
Yeah.
That's it. That little terrace right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
there's
that's a
our
rooftop.
closing
again.
cocktail hour. Yeah,
More
on the sunset.
cocktails.
This was the market. Oh, in Lumeron.
That's the market, right? That's the market in Le Marin. Uh-huh. Lavender.
That's my
wine.
favorite thing. Even though it's the back of the bottles.
That was the wine tasting
The Fontenay.
at
Yeah.
Fontenay.
And it is rosé season when we're there in September.
Mhm.
So.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it
Very
still
nice.
is. And our lunch.
So that was lunch at Fontenay.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's the setting.
It was gorgeous. That's Roussillon. Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
There's the group at Pontigar.
Market at Uzès.
It says, yeah. Ile-sur-la-Sorgue.
It's funny, I didn't take any market photos there. We were there for market day too.
That's Les Beaux. That's the
Right.
Carrière des Lumières. The
Yep.
projection, yeah. Right, that's the entrance. There we
That was
are.
our final dinner. Everybody having their dinner.
Final dinner, and it was an Abbey, right?
Yep. In the, yeah, at the hotel. And that's it. That's all I put together.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for
You're
that.
welcome.
We have 2 minutes. We have 2 minutes for a final question. If there's anybody who wants to ask one last question.
I'll just make a comment. I chose Hotel Splendide in April when I visited Nice. And it was occupied by the Gestapo during the World War II. So it's been completely rebuilt. And it's really a lovely.
Wow. That's interesting.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Wow.
I didn't think it was that old.
No,
Oh,
I didn't think it was that old
it's way older. I think it was built in the late 1800s.
The hotel's
No, not the Splendide. I think you're thinking of another hotel. The Splendide is a
Yeah.
contemporary building.
Yeah. I think it's built like in the 50s or 60s.
I was reading from a plaque they had on the wall.
Oh,
What was
maybe there
the
was
address
something
of
there
the hotel?
beforehand.
The
Yeah.
hotel you were in, what was the address?
It was on Victor Hugo and Gounod.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's it.
Mhm.
Well, they must have rebuilt it then.
Probably.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, because that's a
contemporary
new building.
It was built like in
Yeah.
the 70s.
Yeah, I was gonna
May
say
have been the
60s or
building.
70s. Yeah.
It was, you are correct. It was built in 1883 and was last renovated in 2011.
Oh,
And they have good massage and jacuzzi and spa.
Mhm.
yes, they do. That's right. They do. That's right.
It's actually great because you can just walk everywhere.
Yeah.
It's very nice.
Can I just ask one quick one? I know I've been quite vocal, but if you go through all the process and do all the bureaucracy, which I know we French invented, I say we because I'm part French. If we do everything to get the long-term visa, is it pretty well guaranteed you're going to get it if all the conditions are met?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, no one can give it a guarantee, but they love Americans. American passport is ideal. You're
And Canadians?
He's Canadian.
I'm
yeah.
sorry. I'm
Canadian.
I'm doing it again. Okay. But you're coming there, you're not taking a job away from a French national. You've
No.
got resources, no, it's easy. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Didn't Samuel Adams sail from La Havre to discover Canada? It was Fleur. What's the little town?
Champlain, Samuel de Champlain from Mont Saint-Michel.
On the floor.
On
the
floor,
right. Yes.
I'm bad at history.
Yeah, well, we were there, Jamie and I, Michelle were there in 2019 and saw the plaque on the wall. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I think Canadians are very welcome as well.
Oh yeah, we were every time we've been to France. It's been great.
So, okay, on this note, we're going to say goodbye and thank everyone for joining us today. And I hope a lot of you will come to the conference or come on or the tour and spend some time with us here in the South because it's fabulous. And we had a great time last year. We intend to have an even better time this year. And so just talk to Barb and Michelle and Jamie and book it quick.
And I just put the link. I just put the link in for the promo for September with all the details, and all the pricing is in there. You can do just the conference only or the conference and tour together. So if you look at the link in the chat, that's where you'll find all the details, the full schedule, all the speakers, and scroll down for all the pricing. And if you have questions, give us a call. We're about half full right now. So if you want to do both conference and tour, I would say, sign up pretty quickly. Conference, we'll probably sell it out, I would say, within the next month. So just don't wait too long.
Right.
And we'll also be sending out this recording via email. We just have to download it, make some edits, and then we'll send it out hopefully by the end of the week.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well,
Great.
thank
you,
everyone
everyone,
for
for
being here.
joining us.
Okay, thank you. Thank Patty. Thank you for your slideshow. Thanks to everybody, all your questions, and I hope to see you in September.
Great. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, have a great
Bye-bye.
day.
Thank you, Adrian.
Au revoir. À bientôt.
Au revoir.
Bye.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.